The last class we have started the discussion on the importance of English and the history of English language in India and abroad. So we have seen the Macaulay how the Macaulay was important in English education and all. Today we are looking at, we start our discussion from Kottari Commission, the first comprehensive education commission which looks at the English language and its recommendations for the growth and development of English language in the Indian curriculum. Right? Students, are you able to listen my voice? Is it clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Take a pen and a notebook and try to note down the points that what we discuss now. You can switch on your video, switch off your audio and switch on your video so that I can see you that you are attending my class. Otherwise, you can't know whether you are attending my class or not. So that you can switch on your video and switch off audio, so that I know that you are attending and you are attentive in attending and listening my classes. Students, Kottari Commission, popularly known as the Education Commission of India, it was appointed in the year 1964 and it submitted recommendations in the year 1966. So that Kottari Commission or Education Commission was popularly known as Indian Education Commission, IEC, Indian Education Commission. In fact, it is the first comprehensive education commission after independence. You try to take down the points in a bullet wise points. Kottari Commission is heading under this. You take the points, bullet wise points. First Education Commission, Comprehensive Education Commission, I said, headed by D.S. Kottari, Daulat Singh Rajani Kottari, and it was constituted on 2nd October 1964. 2nd October 1964. The date is very important. 2nd October 1964. And it submitted its report in the year 1966. So, the 2 years of time, it wondered and it got the report. After consulting with many educationists and consulting with many bodies, consulting with many intellectuals and looking at the different universities, then it had its report. So that I can say it is a comprehensive education committee and its report. And the committee was properly mentioned like Education National Development Committee. Yes, education, not only education, education and national development. First time it was talking about the national development. Yes. Of course, it is the sixth committee, but it is the first comprehensive education committee to look at and to know the various aspects of education. Say, for example, it examined various aspects like how educational life is important. Yes, education is not meant for certificates. Educational life. And number two, the needs. What are the needs of the country? What are the needs of the country? Needs of the country is studied by this education commission. And vocational education. First time it was talking about vocationalization of education. Vocational courses. Yes. Vocational courses also an important aspect of the Kottari Commission. And first time it talks about national integration. Yes, talking about national integration, like the spirit of constitution. What is the spirit of Indian constitution? We can see the spirit of Indian constitution in the form of the preamble. We know preamble is soul of Indian constitution, an important cover page or index type of thing to the Indian constitution is the preamble. Yes, the ideals of the preamble are documented in the committee. Yes, our preamble says that India is a country of socialist, secular, republic, and a democratic state. The spirit of the constitution, which aims at the equality among the people of the country. And the same spirit has been mentioned in Kothari Commission. That is why Kothari Commission not only looks at the education but also look at the all-round development of the citizen, of the people, of the children. So that Kothari Commission's recommendations are very important. Even we know we have now 10 plus 2 plus 3 education system. First time 10 plus 2 plus 3, the pattern of education system was recommended by Kothari. Yes, 10th class, intermediate and degree. This pattern is known as 10 plus 2 plus 3 education system. And talking about the medium of instruction, students, some of you, please mute, please mute audio. Please mute audio. Students, if you unmute audio, I will go from the class. Yes, I take the class in a serious way. If you disturb me, I don't spare because I am very busy. And please tell all the people, video is on, audio must be muted. You can switch on your video, no problem, but you switch off your audio. And English medium is given importance to this committee, to this Kothari Commission. English medium has been given importance, and also it reduced the gap between classroom and the society. Kothari Commission recommendations are very important because such wonderful recommendations by Kothari. There should be a gap between classroom and real life. This gap has to be bridged, has to be fulfilled. Kothari's observations, the gap between classroom and real life should be fulfilled. Yes. And also, talking about the importance of English language at the university level. Yes, university should carry English as the medium of instruction. Yes, should carry their medium of instruction in English only. Medium of instruction is English. And coming to the other recommendations like focus on regional languages. Yes, focus on regional languages and as on par with the English language. And coming to the role of the English language, Kothari said English is a window of the world, so that we can imagine the role given to the English language. English is like a window of the world. What do you mean by window of the world? If you learn English, you can peep into it. You can no need to wonder the world. You can know the world by learning English. That is known as English is a window of the world. And the Kothari Commission also recommended that English is as a library language and as a channel for international communication. Library language and is also a channel for international communication. And talking about the language, three language formula was consolidated by Kothari Commission. Three-language formula was consolidated by Kothari Commission. These are some of the important recommendations of the Kothari Commission, perhaps which is the best commission after independence. Of course, we have now NPE 2020 by Narendra Modi Education Commission, National Policy in Education 2020 by Narendra Modi. Much before Narendra Modi's government, Kothari Commission was no, it was looking at all the aspects and human development and integration, the language policy and all were mentioned by the Kothari Commission. So that Kothari Commission is, I can say, one of the glorious commissions appointed after independence. And the opening page of the Kothari Commission shows its importance. What is the opening page shows? The quotation given by Kothari on the opening page is, the destiny of the nation is now being shaped in the four walls of the classroom. The destiny of the nation is now being shaped in the four walls of the classroom. It was the comment made by Kothari in order to start the recommendations. On the first page of the Kothari Commission recommendations, we see, yes, the destiny of the nation, the future of the nation is not being done in the assemblies or parliaments. It is being done in the classroom. That was the importance given to the classroom by Kothari. The destiny of the nation is being shaped now in the four walls of the classroom. Yes, the future of the country is being shaped in the four walls of the classroom. This is the importance of Kothari given to the classroom of India. Then come to the three-language formula, page number 12. In your course book, you can identify three-language formula. Three-language formula, in fact, it was first time it was formulated by CABE. Three-language formula was first time recommended by CABE, capital letters, CABE, CABE in 1956. What do you mean by CABE? CABE stands for Central Advisory Board of Education. Central Advisory Board of Education, CABE. CABE is very important committee that looks at the language integration. Yes, after independence, there was a rethinking type of thing about the status of English language in India. Before independence or even after independence, we had the English was official language of the country. But after independence, the first generation of the freedom fighters, they thought that Hindi is our language, English is a foreign language. They made Hindi as an official language through the constitutional measures. Against to this, southern states rejected this opinion. Southern states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh in those days, we had different opinion about the status of Hindi as an official language. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister seriously condemned that Hindi, we don't want Hindi, we want Tamil or we want English. That was the negative opinion against to the Hindi language. There was a little rivalry about the status of the language in the country. Now, southern states, South Indian states, they do not have the familiarity with the Hindi language. Whereas the northern states, they feel comfortable in speaking or in communicating Hindi as the official language. So there was a little rivalry between northern and the southern states of the country after independence. So in order to shoot this negative opinion, troubleshoot the problem, central government had come with a formula. That formula was called three-language formula. In order to highlight the three-language formula, it was formulated by CABE, Central Advisory Board of Education, that was done in the year 1956. And this committee, CABE, submitted its report, and it was accepted in the year 1958. Yes. And the report stated that Hindi would replace English after 1965 and English would continue as a subsidiary language. That means what? That means Hindi is our first national language and English is second official language or associate official language. The status given to English language is second official language or associate official language. Accordingly, constitutional measures were done accordingly to look into the status of the education. Yes. As part of three language formulas procedure, in the year 1961, Chief Ministers Conference was held. Chief Minister Conferences was held, and it recommended the three language formula and giving importance to Hindi and also English. Yes. See, North states. First, I will say the North states. Three language formula in the North states. That is Hindi speaking states. North states means Hindi speaking states. You put the heading North states within the bracket Hindi speaking states. Hindi speaking states L1. L1 means language 1. Hindi. L1 Hindi. L2 language 2 English. L3 modern Indian language. Any modern Indian language. Any modern Indian language. I will repeat the formula. I will repeat the three language formula in North states. Put the heading North states within the bracket Hindi speaking states. L1 Hindi. L2 language 2 second language English. L3 language 3 or third language any modern Indian language. Any modern Indian language. Right. Come to the second heading Southern states. South Indian states. South Indian states. Southern states. Within the bracket non-Hindi speaking states. Non-Hindi speaking states. Put the heading non-Hindi speaking states. L1. L1. L1 is mother tongue. MT. Mother tongue. MT. Mother tongue. Oblique. Regional language. Mother tongue. Oblique. Regional language. L2. Hindi. L2. Language 2. Hindi. L2 means language 2 or second language. L3. English. Oblique. Any foreign language. Any foreign language. Broadly speaking out, there is no confusion. This is the three language formula that was formulated after the CABE, Central Advisory Board of Education, which was appointed in the year 1956 by the central government. This is about three language formula. Then come to Professor Ramurthy Commission, Acharya Ramurthy Commission, the next committee, Acharya Ramurthy Commission, that was appointed in the year 1990. Yes. And why Acharya Ramurthy Commission was appointed? In fact, Acharya Ramurthy Commission was appointed to review the national policy of education. To review the national policy of education 1968 and program of action 1986. Program of action 1986. Yes, you must know this fact. All of you should be careful and understanding the necessity of Ramurthy Commission. If you understand the need of Ramurthy Commission, and it is easy to understand its recommendations. Why Ramurthy Committee was appointed? Professor Ramurthy was a professor, and a committee was appointed by the central government under his chairmanship. Why it was appointed? It was appointed for two reasons. One is to review the National Policy of Education 1968. The second is to review the program of action which was done in the year 1986. The main objective of appointing Ramurthy Commission was Ramurthy Commission had no other business. It was appointed to review the two things. One is NPE 1968, other one is Program of Action 1986. To review means to know how it was going on, how were the recommendations, what were the changes that are to be done, what are the things that are to be done as part of the Indian education system. And this committee made analysis and find out the problems in implementing so many issues. The first one, it looked at the problems of three-language formula. It looked at the problems of three-language formula. Yes, Ramurthy Committee had observed the problems of the three-language formula. First one. And the second is it revised the statement of Kothari Commission. It revised the statements, certain statements, not only one statement, certain statements made by the Kothari Commission. And come to the recommendations of Ramurthy Commission. I'm giving the recommendations. Put the subheadings, recommendations. I'm talking about the recommendations of the Ramurthy Commission. Recommendations of Ramurthy Commission. One, consolidating the three-language formula. Consolidating the three-language formula. Number two, establishing Kendriya Vidyalayas. Kendriya Vidyalayas. We know Kendriya Vidyalayas, national level schools. Number three, establishing of CIFL. CIEFL. Now it is IFLU. Now it is IFLU, English and Foreign Language University. In those days, it was CIEFL, Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages. CIEFL.
Sorry, sir. Can you repeat it?
CIEFL. CIEFL, Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages. Now it is IFLU. It is called IFLU, English and Foreign Language University. It is there at Karnataka now. CIEFLU. And training to the language teachers. Other recommendation is training to the language teachers. Yes, Ramurthy Commission focused on training, teacher training programs. A teacher must be trained well. Before that, we did not have the focus on trained teachers. Everybody can become the teacher without training after the examination. No course, no specific teacher training. And it promoted in-service and pre-service teacher training programs, like strict implementation of the programs, teach especially in-service programs. Yes. For that, CIFL was started for that purpose only. And it also mentioned about language proficiency at different levels. Language proficiency at different levels. That means English teachers should have proficiency over the language. Language proficiency at different levels. And it also recommended a fresh linguistic survey should be conducted. a fresh linguistic survey should be conducted. Fresh linguistic survey should be conducted. Yes, and these are the some of the important recommendations made by Acharya Ramurthy Commission that was appointed in the year 1990. Yes, and even it focuses on English language at different levels, right? This is about Ramurthy Commission and its recommendations. We have seen Kothari Commission. We have done the language formula proposed by CABE, and we have done Acharya Ramurthy Commission appointed in the year 1990. Now, come to the discussion, lesson number 3, that is teaching of English as a second language. You can look at our page number 19 in our course book. Look
Sir,
at your,
Sir,
yes,
sir, fresh linguistic survey means
special linguistic survey means language policy has to be studied. The role given to the languages. India is a multilingual country. In a multilingual country, no uniformity among the languages. So that a linguistic survey has to be done based on the needs of various states, whether pre-language formula are to be good or whether we go with any other language formula. In order to know the changes, in order to know the things that are going on about the language and its users, that is known as fresh linguistic survey. Come to page number 19, lesson number 3, teaching of English as a second language. Yeah, you can look at your course book, page number 19, lesson number 3, teaching of English as a second language. First, I must let me tell you something about L1, L2, L3. If you understand the concept of L1, L2, L3, and it is easy to you to understand how English is a second language in India. L1 means language 1 or first language. Students, all my points are very important to you for your examination. Whatever I discuss with you in the class, you try to take the pinpoints type of thing and try to expand the information in your examination. Let me give you the L1, L2, L3 concepts. Then we go to how English becomes a second language in India. L1 means language 1 or first language or mother tongue. The language that we learn subconsciously from our surroundings, from our parents, is called mother language, mother tongue, or home language, home tongue. There are many differences. Mother tongue is different from regional language. Say, for example, our mother tongue is Telugu. Say, for example, Telugu. Mother tongue is also Telugu. Regional language is also Telugu. Say, for example, students speaking some other language at the home. Maybe tribal students, they speak tribal language at the home. Gondo people speak Gondo language. Lambada people speak Lambada language at the home. Their mother tongue is different, regional language different. In India, we have language peculiarity. Tribes speak tribal language at home, that is their mother tongue. When we come to the regional language, Telugu is the regional language. So that while using the terms, whether it is mother language, mother tongue, or regional language, you must be aware of whether it is mother tongue or regional language. In our mother tongue is Telugu. Maybe regional language is also Telugu. My mother tongue is Telugu, regional language Telugu. Say your mother tongue also Telugu, regional language Telugu. Your mother tongue is Gondo, regional language Telugu. Your mother tongue is Urdu, regional language is Telugu. Your mother tongue is Lambada, regional language is Telugu. Be aware of the things. That is L1. L2. L2 means second language. Language 2, second language. The language which we learn or which we use frequently after the mother tongue is known as second language. The language which we use or which we get after the mother tongue is called L2 or second language. Then L3, language 3, third language. Third language it is generally foreign language. Third language is generally foreign language. This is the concept of first language, second language, and the third language. Right now, it is open for one or two doubts. If you have any doubts about first, second, third language, you can ask me now. First, you can clear first, second, third language. Then I will go to the discussion how we teach English as second language. You can ask the doubts. Any doubts on this?
Sir, according to CABE, for southern states, L2 is Hindi, sir. But here mentioned second language English.
One doubt. Right. Good doubt. See, according to the three language formula, southern states we have Hindi as second language. But most of the times what we see is all the discussions that are carried in here is in two perspectives. One is from northern perspective. For northern people, they treat English as second language from North Indian perspective. One. The North Indian perspective is the country's perspective because Hindi is our official language. So that North Indian perspective, according to North Indian perspective, English is second language, the first one. The second answer for your question is, yes, the concept of second language is different from the three language formula. Yes, you don't look at the three language formula in order to understand the role given to English language. The second language is the language that we use extensively after the mother tongue is called second language. It is Krashen, Professor Krashen's observation. Krashen, 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 Krashen has studied the status of English language, how English becomes second language. According to his opinion, the second language is the language which we use frequently in the education or in the employment or in the usage, that becomes the second language. This idea makes English as second language in India. Yes, even southern states, after our mother tongue, your mother tongue may be Tamil, your mother tongue may be Malayalam, your mother tongue may be Odisha, your mother tongue may be Telugu, but the second language that you use extensively is English. Undoubtedly, South Indians, we use English after our mother tongue. We don't use Hindi much. Go to the North Indian, their mother tongue is Hindi, and immediately the second language that you use is English. So from North India and also from South India, we look at the status given to the English language is second language. That is why in India, we teach or we learn English as a second language as part of the curriculum at the school level and also at the college level, right? Is the clarity of the doubt?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
In school level, we call first language regional language, second language Hindi, and third language English.
No, I don't look at the three language formula. Don't look at the three language formula. I'm talking about usage, the extensive use. Even at school level also, after our mother tongue, what we use very much in English only.
But in the subject, but the certificate, it is mentioned third language is English.
Certificate three language formula is different from the status given to the English. That's what I am telling. The concept of second language has to be studied from the perspective of the users and the language that we use frequently in the education and employment. Yes. Now come to teaching of English as a second language. Yes. Undoubtedly, English is being taught, being learned as second language in India. Yes. Very interestingly, English entered India as a foreign language, but within a short time, it has become the part of our national and cultural, social life. Indian academia, Indian academics, Indian curriculum has been dominated by the English language. Yes. An inseparable part. And certain courses, English has become a medium of instruction. Not only medium of instruction, English is the language of administration, language of judiciary, library language, business language, corporate language, and even we use English as for communication. That is why English is a lingua franca. Concept is lingua franca. Lingua, lingua, Franca, franca. Lingua franca means the people of other languages use English for communication, for day-to-day communication. Yes, English inspires every sphere of life. Social privilege. It is a language of social privilege at different stages. In India, every parent, the student are need of learning English in order to sustain the society, to communicate in the real life. Yes, India is a multilingual country. In this multilingual setup, English plays an important role. Yes. And without proficiency of our English language, it is not possible to meet the needs and the demands of the market. Lack of English language leads to lack of employability skills. As Abdul Kalam rightly said, in India, it is not the problem of unemployment, but it is the problem of unemployability. Not the problem of unemployment, it is the problem of unemployability. Yes, students need to focus on employability skills which have a close relation with English language. Yes. After independence, 15th August 1947, we got independence. After the year 1948, a committee was appointed to know the importance of English in India. The name of the committee was Sarvepalli Radhakrishna Commission, SRK Commission, Sarvepalli Radhakrishna Commission, SRK Commission. The first University Commission appointed in the year 1948 by the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to look at the importance of English language. And SRK Commission studied the importance of English at university level and also at our lives. At our lives, it plays a major progress, and it has prepared the list of English language and its importance in the country. According to Sarvepalli Radhakrishna Commission's report, also known as the first Indian Universities Commission. The role of English is one. English is an official language. Yes. Of course, Hindi is our official language, but on paper, Hindi is official language. In fact, our government orders, parliament proceedings, judiciary, constitution, anything, they carry in English language only. Though it is an associate official language, though it is a second official language, it dominates Indian administration, Indian office matters. Number two, administrative language. English is an administrative language. In the administration, we use English. Yes. From MRO office to President of India's office, wherever you go, from police station to fire station, from clerk to collector, from VRO to chief secretary, all administrative affairs are taking place in English to communicate with the administration. All communication. You don't write letter in Telugu. If you want to write a letter to the collector, you use English language. You never write letter in Telugu to the collector. Collector may not know All India Service. If you write the letter to MRO, maybe if you write the letter to MRO in Telugu, that has to be translated for the official purpose. Number three, English is an international language, global language. If you go, wherever you go, English policy. You cannot find the place on the earth, on the globe, without English. It is an international language. It is a global language. Number four, English is a language of trade and commerce. Trade and commerce. That means business. English is a good business language. Yes. If you want to communicate with others for business purpose, English paves the path for the business. Number six, English is a link language. Link is a link language among the states, among the people of the country. Different states, different cultures, different people, different languages. It is a link language. Link. North people, they speak Hindi, you can't understand Hindi. You can't understand Hindi, they can't understand Telugu. So that English is a fine language where it provides link language, through which we can understand the backgrounds of the people. And academic language. Absolutely. Indian academia, Indian curriculum is being dominated by English language, academic language. And English is a library language. Library. Wherever you go, if you want to go to library, undoubtedly 90% of the books are in English language. English is a corporate language. After the LPG policies, liberalization, privatization, globalization era, English becomes corporate language. Any corporate office, they use English. English is language of science and technology. You want to invent any scientific thing, you should know English, or it has to be reproduced or translated into English. And English is a language of social mobility. Social mobility. Yes, social mobility is possible through English language. Even independence. We got independence because of English language. It was used as a vehicle for spreading the ideas from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Our national leaders used to communicate, used to spread their ideas in English language. Social mobility is easy in English language. And nowadays, I must tell you, English is the language of social privilege. Privilege. Yes. So that all of you should know this is the importance of English language. Now, I must tell you objectives of teaching English as a second language. What are the objectives of teaching English in second language? Why we teach English? What are the different objectives? Without objectives, we can't teach English. So that you should know objectives of English, teaching English in India. Yes. Yes. Many scholars try to give the definition for objectives. According to Professor Guttenby, 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 there are two basic objectives of English language. That is, one, learning English, two, doing something with English. There are two objectives according to Guttenby. Guttenby, two objects. One is learning English, two is doing something with English. Learning and doing. One, learning English. First we learn English, then we try to do something after learning English. That means using English. Yes. The basic objective is, only basic objective is, I must give you this basic objective is to develop the LSRW skills of the children. LSRW skills. L stands for listening, S stands for speaking, R stands for reading, W stands for writing. To develop LSRW skills of the children. It is the only basic objective of teaching English as a second language in Indian schools. L means listening. To make the students listen and understand English. Listen and understand English. Yes, speaking. To make the learners to speak correct English, fluent English. To make the children to speak English fluently and accurately. 3. Reading. To make the children to read and understand the English texts. To read and understand the English text. 4. To make the children to write grammatically acceptable sentences. To make the children to write grammatically acceptable sentences. This is the only main objective. Listening skill, speaking skill, reading skill, writing skill. Yes. Listening means students can understand, can listen and understand the skill. They have to understand to improve their listening ability. When we listen to foreign speakers, we must understand their English. Speaking, the second one is speaking means every child should speak English in a proper way, like English speaker, like native speaker of English. Reading skill means reading and understanding of the text, books, poems, prose pieces written in English language. And writing means writing the correct spellings, writing the correct structures, writing the correct sentences, patterns, practices, and all. And the objectives of teaching English at different levels, maybe primary level, secondary level, at higher level. Based on their comprehension, the objectives may be different, but broadly speaking out, the main objective of teaching English is to develop LSRW skills of the children. It is common at the elementary level, it is common at the secondary level, it is common at the high school, college level or university level. When we teach English to the primary class students, the same objective according to their background. When we teach English to the secondary students, the same objective according to their background. And when we teach English at the higher levels, the same objective based on certain things. This is about the teaching of English in India as a second language. Now come to lesson number 4, page number 31. Lesson number 4 in our course book, page number 31. Techniques of teaching prose. Techniques of teaching prose. This is 4th lesson, prose. Students, are you able to follow? Are you with me or really with me or just switch on your class and you're doing your own work?
No, sir.
Yes, sir, with you.
With you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we are listening, sir.
Yes, sir. We are listening to the class.
All of you switch on your video once. Show your notebook. Yes. Good. If you follow, you know something, no, you are following so that I can give you more information. If you don't follow, simply you are switch on your audio and doing your own work, wasting of your time and my time also, so that don't mistake me. And again I have the bad habit of asking the students whether they are following or not. Yeah,
We are noting down your points, sir.
good,
There.
good.
We are noting the points, sir.
Nice. Students, the same information is useful to you for all other competitive examinations. If you prepare for NET or SET or any other competitive examinations in the state, like any other competitive examination, junior lectures or degree lectures, the same information on ELT, English language teaching, is useful to you, so that don't take for only your final exams, it is also useful to you. These concepts are useful to you for understanding ELT for competitive exams. Now we move to lesson number 4, techniques of teaching prose. Yes, techniques of teaching prose. Students, basically, English teaching is 4 types. 1, teaching prose. 2, teaching poetry. 3, teaching supplementary reader or non-detailed book. Supplementary reader or non-detailed book. 4, teaching composition. These are the 4 important areas which we learn as the English learners and English teachers. If you did B.Ed, you should know how a teacher should go to the classroom to teach poetry or prose or composition or a supplementary reader. Of course, now supplementary reader has become part of the main reader. but you should know the difference between prose teaching and poetry teaching. No, it's not the same. While teaching prose, your target must be different. While handling with the poetry, you must play some other role. I must tell you the basic difference between prose teaching and poetry teaching. You take the notes and put the mark, one side prose teaching, other side poetry teaching, so that it is easy to understand the difference between prose teaching and poetry teaching. One side prose teaching, another side poetry teaching. In between, put the vertical bar, vertical line, and so that you take the difference between differences between teaching a prose or teaching a poetry lesson. Yes, the main object of teaching prose, the main object of teaching prose is to develop the language skills of the children. Develop the language skills, LSRW skills of the children. Yes, while teaching prose, you should look at development of the language skills. Come to the poetry, but teaching poetry, not the language skills, to provide the sensory impression. Sensory impression. SENSORY. Sensory impression. Senses. We know 5 senses. Sensory impression. The main objective of teaching poetry is to provide the sensory impression. Yes. Come to the second point in prose. Yes. Grammar. Grammar is important. Grammar and language items. Grammar and language items are important in teaching prose. But poetry, grammar is not important. For poetry, pronunciation is important. Pronunciation. Stress. Intonation. Rhyme. I said 4 qualities. Pronunciation, stress, intonation, rhyme. Intonation, rhyme scheme. RHYME, rhyme. These 4 qualities are important for teaching a poem. Teaching a poem. These 4 features are also called paralinguistic features. PARA, paralinguistic features. Yes, while teaching poetry, you should focus on paralinguistic features. That means your pronunciation, your stress, your intonation, whether rising, falling, or rising, falling, or falling, rising intonation. And rhyme scheme. Yes, every poet observes the rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme is also. Come to the third point. Prose is intellectual. Prose looks at intellectual things, intellectual abilities. Intellectual abilities. But whereas poetry looks at emotional things, emotional. Prose is intellectual, poetry is emotional. Yes. That means prose deals with mind, poetry deals with heart. Prose is mind, poetry is heart. Mind thinks, heart responds. When you teach prose, students should think. But when you teach poetry, students should respond from the heart. Emotional response is much important in teaching a poem. Poetry teaching should not make the students to think of. It makes the student to respond, heart response. Responding is the poetry. How beautiful it is. How beautiful language elements are. But while teaching prose, the students have to think intellectually. They have to look at intellectually. As the teacher of English, if you are the English teacher, you should know the difference between prose teaching and poetry teaching. I know most of you will settle down as the teachers or lecturers at different schools and colleges after your post graduation, I'm sure. So that this paper always gives you a lot of practical type of thing. You should have that approach while handling the prose and poetry. With this introduction, we look at the poetry. Yes, prose teaching is useful to the teacher to update yourself. The developments, the changes taking place in the language world. Yes, it is prose teaching is useful to the teacher to update the knowledge, in the language. Yes, number 2. I'm talking about the need of prose teaching. 1, updating the knowledge. 2, understanding of learner needs. Understanding of learner needs.
Problem.
You should understand the needs of your learner.
కింద రాక పైకి వచ్చింది.
Number 3,
నేను ఆయనకు చెప్తూనే ఉన్నాను
methodology of
వెంచయ్యా అని చెప్తుంటేనేమో నువ్వేమో చెప్తలేవు
appropriate methodology of
చూడు ఎంత
teaching.
డిస్టర్బెన్స్ అవుతుందో
Appropriate methodology of teaching.
Sorry, sir. Can you repeat the third point?
Appropriate methodology of teaching.
వైఫై
Yes, appropriate methodology. 1 is updating knowledge. 2 is learner needs.
కొంచెం
3rd one is appropriate
నాకు కూడా
methodology.
క్లాసెస్ ఉన్నాయి ఇప్పుడు ఇంత ప్రాబ్లం అవుతుంది తెలుసా.
Students, some of you are still do not know how to operate the. No. I have told you it happens, I will go. It happens, I will go, I don't come. It's your wish. It happens, I will go. Please ask them mute. Yes. And it promotes the language abilities. It promotes the language abilities of the student. Yes. Now, how to teach a prose lesson? Yes, if you are English teacher, how to teach a prose lesson? What are the points that English teacher should keep in the mind while teaching a prose lesson as part of English teaching? Imagine that you are English teacher. What should you teach? How to teach? 1, provide language experience. Providing language experience. Yes, you have to explain each and everything. Providing language experience. Reading the sentences and structures. Reading the sentence and structures. Number 3, providing written work to the students. Providing written work to the students. Number 4, using blackboard. Using blackboard. Number 5, identifying new vocabulary. Identifying new vocabulary. Number 6, focus on grammar aspects. Focus on grammar aspects. Number 7, composition, giving composition. Yes,
Sir, focus on grammar.
grammar aspects, all grammatical things, grammar aspects like articles, tenses, voice. As part of language teaching, we should focus on grammar aspects, grammar topics. And finally, composition. Composition means writing skill. Letter writing, essay writing, paragraph writing, essay writing, all writing skills are called composition. Yes. While teaching any prose lesson, you should keep the following things in your mind. Yes. What are the techniques? How to teach? What are the techniques we use while teaching a prose lesson? What are the techniques we use? There are many techniques. I shall focus on some of the techniques which we generally use. I read out one by one techniques. Techniques of teaching a prose lesson. Techniques of teaching a prose lesson in English. We have many techniques. Now, undoubtedly, a teacher should have techniques. Otherwise, he will be not a good teacher. You should have techniques. How much knowledge you have, it is not important. How many techniques you are taking up, transforming the knowledge, information from your brain to your student's brain. Some of the teachers are very good, but they do not have techniques. Some of the teachers continuously they talk. They don't bother about their learners, whether they are following. They don't look at the faces of the students. Remember, teacher is not ITM. Teacher is not an ITM, information transfer mission. Teacher is not ITM, information transfer mission. Teacher is something than the mission. A good teacher is one not who teaches. No. Who teaches well may not be a good teacher. A good teacher is one who makes you to think. Who makes you to think is a good teacher. Providing thoughts is very important rather than providing information. Yes. The criteria for identifying a lecture or a class or a subject is providing the thoughts. Yes. So that prose teaching gives certain directions to the teacher. Then only will be good teachers. Some of the teachers, they don't look at the face of the students. Simply they talk, they go. And some of the teachers, what they think they teach. There is no coherence what they are teaching, what is being discussed. No. And some of the teachers simply read the books. And some of the teachers, even they do not try to teach. No. It is language paper. Ours is language paper. In the language paper, the responsibility of the teacher is, teacher should have a plan. 1. Simplification. Simplification of the lesson. Simplification of the lesson. First technique is simplification. Teacher should always think about the students while teaching, whether am I reaching the students or not. Simplify the subject. If you read the same information like the textbook, you don't need to teach them, simply they can read. You have to simplify. Simplification of the lesson is first technique. Make the lesson in the form of a story. Make the lesson in the form of an anecdote. Make the lesson in the form of a conversation. Make the lesson in the form of an event or an incident or a story. Simplification is the most important one. Number 2, comprehension of the lesson. Comprehension. What do you mean by comprehension? See, there are certain steps in the comprehension. Reading, first step. Second, understanding. Third, application. 4, analysis. Reading, understanding, application, analysis. 4 steps in the learning process. All 4 together equal to comprehension. Comprehension includes reading of the text, understanding that of the text, application of the information given in the text, analysis or interpretation of the text. All 4 steps are the parts of the comprehension. Before you teach, you should get the comprehension. You should understand. If you don't understand, how should you teach? How should you make your learners to understand? No, not possible. You should get command over the subject. That is why teacher should make the lesson plan. He has to prepare the lesson plan of his own before going to the classroom. If you prepare the lesson plan, and you will be getting a good command over the lesson, so that it is easy to you to teach the lesson in a lucid way. The third one, vocabulary expansion. Yes. You are teaching prose lesson, so that you should deal with the vocabulary, expansion of the vocabulary. Every prose lesson should have some of the new words, some of the vocabularies known as vocabulary expansion. Yes. Active vocabulary, everyday words. Passive vocabulary, rare vocabulary. Ad hoc vocabulary, specific vocabulary. As the teacher, you should know daily words, you should know rare words, you should know specific words. As part of the lesson, it is your obligation to make your children to learn the new words presented in that particular lesson. Then 4, grammar, teaching grammar. Yes. Grammar should not be taught in isolation. Grammar should be taught apart from the text. But unfortunately, nowadays, all English teachers teach English grammar in an isolated way. Yes. If you teach grammar apart from the textbook, students will be getting command over the language by understanding the role of grammar. Maybe active voice, directed speech, articles, question tags, degrees of comparison, whatever the grammar. Grammar should be taught as part of the prose lesson. Number 5, promoting reading skill. Promoting reading skill. Yes. Reading skill is very, very important. Yes. As part of prose teaching, you have to make your students to read and understand the text carefully in a right way. They should know what is important. They should keep the things in memory. They should know all the aspects of the reading. Yes, like they have to know different types of reading, like intensive reading, extensive reading. Reading skill. Intensive reading and extensive reading. Very important is reading skill. Prose lesson focuses more on reading skill. Yes. Number 6, providing composition. Composition. At the end of the lesson, you should give them composition, introducing composition, writing skills. Composition. Yes. And 7, soft skills and life skills. Yes. Nowadays, most of the times, students teach soft skills and life skills separately. No. You don't teach soft skills and life skills separately. Don't teach. Teach life skills and soft skills as part of the prose lesson. Yes, as part of the prose lesson. Students learn more. At the end of each lesson, every lesson, you should highlight some of the soft skills and also some of the life skills so that students will get the complete command over the prose lesson. Thus, prose lesson involves to learn vocabulary, to learn grammatical structures, to learn the meanings of new words, and to get the command over reading skill like intensive reading, extensive reading, and many types of reading. So with this, we can conclude the discussion on teaching prose. Now we move to
one thing. What was the last point, sir? Soft skills and life skills, right?
yes.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Just give some examples.
Soft
Those
skills,
soft skills,
life skills. Soft skills are the skills, interpersonal skills. Learning mannerism is a soft skill. Learning mannerism is a soft skill. Showing appropriate gestures is a soft skill. Mannerism, gestures. Creative thinking is also soft skills. Creative thinking. Yes. Thinking out of the box. Yes. Emotional balance is also soft skill. Emotional balance is very important. Yes. As the teacher, you should teach your students. You should make your students to learn emotional balance in order to find out the remedies to the problems. They should maintain emotional balance. Teamwork is also soft skill. Some of the students always they are introverts, not speak much. They may not work properly. The team spirit, teamwork. Yes. You should know what to do, what not to do. Simply, I can say soft skills are the skills that are acquired by an individual to make the lives of play smoothly. Yes. Cultivated mannerism. Cultivated mannerism is soft. Nothing but that. Cultivated mannerism. Yes. Now we move to page number 41. It is lesson 5. Teaching poetry. Students, are you able to follow now or any confusion?
No, sir.
No, sir, we can able to.
No, sir, no confusion.
Sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes, switch on your video and off.
Sir, please. Okay. I'm not able to on the video, sir.
First disable it.
The host disabled video.
Sir, just
No.
give one more example of life skills, sir.
Post
Life skills, sir.
life skills. Life skills are the
Sorry,
skills. Life skills are the skills. Those are the skills related to regulate the life,
Okay.
to make the things easy. Right. Come to this page number 41, that is lesson 5, techniques of teaching prose. Teaching poetry. Yes, what are the techniques of teaching poetry? As I told you, poetry teaching is something different from prose teaching. As the teacher, you should know the proper understanding of the poetry. In this, we will be looking at various definitions of poetry and various types of poetry, and also we see that importance of teaching poetry, and also we look at the techniques of teaching poetry. As a teacher, you should know this very much, and basically the word poetry is derived from a Greek word. Poetry derived from the Greek word means to make. To make. And it gives aesthetic satisfaction. Yes. The main objective of poetry is aesthetic satisfaction. Provide sensory impression. Yes. The main aim is to provide pleasure, to provide happiness. Yes. It makes the students to have imaginative ideas. Ideas have wings. Yes. To provide the ideas, the students will fly. Through the poetry, you give them ideas to fly. It provides the imagination, makes the students think creatively, to be imaginative. And poetry makes even teachers to make the classroom lively, active, energetic, and stimulated way. Yes. Yes. To teach English literature, English language, in an interesting and stimulative way. Stimulation response, SR theory. According to psychology, if there is stimulation, there will be response. There is no stimulation, you cannot see the response. Teacher is a stimulator while teaching poetry. And the response of the students will come out in the form of creativity. If the poem is a stimulation, the students' creativity will be the response. Without stimulation, there is no creativity. No response. For everything, there must be stimulation. You want to become MA English. You are doing MA English is response. Your stimulation is maybe your friend, maybe your colleague, maybe your family member, or maybe your teachers, or stimulators. Yes. You want to become a lecturer, or you want to become a professor like me. If I am the stimulator, some of you may become lecturers, some of you may become maybe professors. Yes, the teacher must be a stimulator while teaching poetry. If the poem is a stimulator, the student will be the poet. Poem is the stimulator. The students have become the poets or the response. SR theory. Yes. It stimulates to find out the creativity, confidence building, personal satisfaction, sensory enrichment. Yes. Poetry provides imaginative abilities, provides sensory impression. In Telugu, we call it as Rasanubhuti. Rasanubhuti. Rasa Anubhuti. That means through the poetry, we get the sensory impression, aesthetic satisfaction. In Telugu, we call it as Kalatmaka Santrupti. What do you mean by Kalatmaka Santrupti? That means aesthetic satisfaction after looking at the poem, after listening to the poem. Our heart goes around. It matters. Heart matters. Yes. Mind never mind, but heart minds. Heart matters. Poetry aims at heart, responding to love English, literature. Many poets have given the excellent definition for poetry. All the definitions have been given in our course book. Definitions of poetry by various poets like Shelley, P.B. Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley, one of the great poets of the Romantic literature. Poetry is divine. Poetry is divine. God, godly things. God is not visible. Poetry is also not visible. God does all the things. Poetry does all the things. God helps you by giving ideas. Poetry also helps you by giving ideas at a crucial time. Poetry is divine by P.B. Shelley. And another definition by William Wordsworth, the father of Romanticism, the father of Romantic movement. William Wordsworth, the father of Romantic literature, spontaneous overflow of the emotions, spontaneous overflow of the powerful feelings. What do you mean by poetry is imagination? It is a spontaneous overflow from your heart. Whatever you feel, whatever you think by looking at certain things, you must pour, you must come out. Spontaneity is very important in the Romantic literature that is reflected in Wordsworth's definition. Spontaneous overflow, it is overflowing of powerful emotional feelings. This is not planned one. Poetry is not a planned outcome. It is unplanned, spontaneous, abrupt outcome with emotional flavor. That's what William Wordsworth talks about the poet. The third one, Sir Philip Sidney. Sir Philip Sidney, talking about an art of imitation. Imitation is very important one. Imitation. You have to imitate. Imitate. Imitate the things. Imitating of persons. Imitating of ideas. Imitating of lifestyles. Imitating of nature. Imitating of imaginative things. Imitative of transformative things. Another world. You must believe another world is possible. Another world may be nature, another world may be mythical, another world may be spiritual, another world may be hell, another world may be heaven. You must believe another world is possible. Imitation. And there are almost 10 types of poetry. There are different types of poetry. 10 forms of poetry, I can say. If you look at your page number 42 in our course book, you can find out 10 forms of poetry. 10 types of poetry. A poem may be lyric, a poem may be ode, a poem may be sonnet, it may be elegy, it becomes idyll, it may be epic, it may be ballad, it may be lullaby, It may be hymn, it may be satire. Yes, 10 poems, 10 forms. There are 10 forms of poetry as part of the poetry. While going into the poetry, we will see whether it is lyric or ode or elegy or epic or ballad, what form of poetry is written by the poets, you should know. As the teacher of English, if you are the English teacher, you should know what form of poetry you are teaching, what form of poetry you are learning, what form of poetry you are writing, under which form you come. These are the different types of poetry. Students, some of you are teaching the lesson to me. So take the notebook and pen. Yes, with this, today we can stop the discussion right now. If you have any doubts, then you can switch on video and ask me any doubt on my class today.
Good morning, sir.
Yes,
Good morning, sir.
good morning. You can switch
Good
on.
morning, sir.
Yes, switch on and off.
Yes, sir. Video also.
Yes, you switch on video and off.
Sir, we are
Yes,
not
sir.
able to switch on the video, sir. It's disabled.
Oh, why?
Yes, sir.
It's disabled by the host, sir.
No, some of you.
Now it is enabled, no?
Now is it clear, sir? Vasundhara?
Yes,
Here I have a small doubt, sir. Can I ask you from our lesson? Okay. So you told about the composition from how to teach as a teacher in the prose, in the topic. Okay. In my olden days, means when I was in 7th class, 6th class, like that, my teachers used to give a composition. They used to keep one composition notebook and they used to give a topic, and next week we have to submit like that. But today's teachers, they are not doing this composition work. What is the difference and what is the benefit we got in that olden days? What present days children, they are not able to get the benefit with this composition? This is my doubt, sir. If it is valid reason, please answer me.
See, composition always makes the students to learn the things well. If you don't ask the students, their writing skills may be put in the question mark. So that a good teacher is one who always engages his or her learners. By asking composition, by asking the students to write a letter or paragraph or report, so that the students can improve their writing skills and they know where they commit mistakes and all. Yes, nowadays the students are run around the syllabus, completion of the syllabus, but still there is a relevance of developing composition. A good teacher is one certainly looks at the developing of the composition. Teaching composition and focusing on composition is a good one. It's not bad one. Yes, good teacher is one who talks less and who makes the learners to speak much. Teacher's talk should be reduced. Learner's talk should be increased in the classroom. Then only it will be ideal classroom. Yes, keeping silence in the classroom is not a good classroom. The classroom is one. Always the students should interact with the teacher. Yes, this is the modern perspective of looking at the classroom.
Nowadays, teachers are not giving any composition work to the students. Either if the teacher is giving composition work, the students are also not.
Yes, students are not doing means it is the responsibility of the teacher. Yes, teacher should create the interest. Yes, create the interest among the students so that they can do the work.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Any doubts?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Techniques means strategies, teaching strategies, how we have to follow in the classroom.
Who is speaking? Yeah, please tell. Strategies of what?
रोहिना म्यूट है अनम्यूट करके बात करो.
Okay. techniques, whatever strategies we are following in the classrooms, like methods. My
Yeah.
doubt is there, sir. Techniques. Technique means strategies or methods we have to follow in the classrooms.
Students, we have another topic, methods, approaches, methods and techniques. There we discuss different approaches, methods and techniques. Today we have seen the techniques of teaching prose only. Talking about the broader perspective of teaching approaches, method, techniques, that is different. We will talk later. It is there in the syllabus.
Okay, sir.
Right. If there are no doubts, then we can conclude the session. If you have any doubts regarding this class, you can ask. Otherwise, we can wind up the session. Are you able to follow, students? Taking notes?
Yes. When we call the
Yes,
techniques
sir.
of language elements, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Are you able to take the notes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I've taken, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Good. We'll see the next class, right?
Okay.
Right. If there are no doubts, I can leave the class.
Yes.
Any doubts? No doubts?
No, sir.
No doubt,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
No doubt, sir.
Thank you,
No doubt,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Right, students.
Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Thank
We'll see
you.
in the next.
Thank you, sir.